There is a road in Nevada that changed the world. Not because of what it was, but because of what people decided it could become. Today, if you stand on Las Vegas Boulevard and look in any direction, you see towers of glass and steel, rivers of neon, and more electricity burning in a single block than some small countries use in a week. 40 million people visit every year. Every year, that is not a typo. But here is the part nobody talks about at the beginning of the story. In 1930, that same road was dirt, dark, empty, and the only thing it had going for it was that it was outside the city limits. That detail, that one boring bureaucratic detail, is the entire reason Las Vegas exists the way it does today. Let me explain. A road nobody wanted, Nevada, 1930. The United States is sliding into the Great Depression, banks are failing, farms are drying up, and the state of Nevada, never exactly a powerhouse of industry, is watching its population struggle with very few options. Las Vegas at this point is a small railroad town. It has around 5,000 people, a handful of hotels, and a city government that, like most American city governments of the era, had strict regulations about what you could build, where you could build it, and how large your parking lot needed to be. Now, if you were a developer in 1930 with a wild idea about building an entertainment venue, the last thing you want is a city ordinance telling you what to do. So you do the logical thing. You go just far enough outside the city limits that nobody can stop you. Highway 91, a state road running south from Las Vegas toward Los Angeles, sat just beyond the reach of the city's jurisdiction. It was dusty. It was dark at night. There were no streetlights, no sidewalks, and essentially no reason for a reasonable person to drive down it after sunset. A reasonable person, of course, is not who built Las Vegas. In 1930, a man opened a nightclub on that dark road and called it the Red Rooster. This is not a glamorous origin story. It is in fact almost comically humble. A nightclub, on a highway, in the desert, with a name that sounds like a breakfast diner. But the Red Rooster proved something that nobody had formally proven yet. People will drive out of town, down a dark road, to reach entertainment if the entertainment is good enough. The Red Rooster was essentially Las Vegas Strip's proof of concept. 1 year later, in 1931, the Paradise Club opened, and this one matters more because it was the first legal casino club on Highway 91. Why legal? Because 1931 was the year Nevada made gambling officially legal. Not as a tolerated vice, but as a registered, taxed, legitimate business. The state was broke, the depression was deepening, and someone in Carson City made a decision that would echo for the next 100 years. If people are going to gamble anyway, the state might as well take a cut. Two things happened in 1931 that fed directly into each other. First, gambling became legal. Second, construction began on Hoover Dam, about 30 miles southeast of Las Vegas. That project employed thousands of workers, engineers, laborers, truck drivers, and they all needed somewhere to sleep, eat, and spend their wages on weekends. Las Vegas was the nearest town. Highway 91 was on the way. The road was still dark, but it was getting busier. Is something that almost never happens in history. The name of a place becomes famous before the place itself actually exists. That is exactly what happened with the Strip. In 1938 or 1938, sources are not perfectly aligned on this. A man named Guy McAfee arrived in Las Vegas. McAfee had been a police officer in Los Angeles. He had also, simultaneously, been running illegal gambling operations in Los Angeles, which is a career combination that requires a certain confidence in one's own judgment. Eventually, Los Angeles cracked down. McAfee relocated to Nevada, where the gambling was now legal, and he acquired a casino on Highway 91 called the Paradise. Looking out at that long, flat highway, McAfee was reminded of something back home. Sunset Strip, the stretch of Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles that was known for its nightclubs, restaurants, and entertainment venues sitting just outside the city of Los Angeles' jurisdiction. Sound familiar? McAfee started calling Highway 91 the Strip. Not because it was glamorous, it wasn't. Not because it was famous, it wasn't yet. Simply because it reminded him of home, and because the geographic logic was identical. Entertainment venues clustered on a highway just outside the city limits. The name stuck before the reputation existed. That is remarkable. Usually a place earns a name. Highway 91 borrowed one, and then spent the next decade growing into it. And then, in 1933, Prohibition ended. The nationwide ban on alcohol had been in effect since 1920. Its repeal in 1933 did not just mean people could drink legally again. It meant that the entire infrastructure of nightlife, which had been operating in the shadows, could now operate in the open. Restaurants could serve wine, hotels could have bars, showrooms could offer cocktails. The entertainment experience that developers wanted to build on Highway 91 could now be complete in a way it simply couldn't be before. 3 legal shifts: gambling legalization in 1931, Prohibition's end in 1933, and Nevada's willingness to let developers operate outside city jurisdiction, combined to make Highway 91 into something nobody had planned. It was not a master plan. It was an accident of circumstances, exploited by opportunists, built by workers, and named by a former corrupt cop from Los Angeles. That is, genuinely, how the Las Vegas Strip began. The Strip becomes real. The 1940s are where the story accelerates. In 1941, El Rancho Vegas opened on Highway 91, and it changed the model entirely. Everything before El Rancho had been a nightclub or a casino. One thing, done in one building. El Rancho was something different. A resort, a single destination with a hotel, restaurants, a casino, and entertainment, all under one roof, or, more accurately, across one sprawling property. The idea was simple and brilliant. If you get someone to stay at your resort, they don't leave. They gamble in your casino, eat in your restaurant, sleep in your hotel, wake up, and do it again. Every dollar they spend stays inside your property. El Rancho Vegas had a Western theme. Cowboys, ranch fencing, that particular American romance with the frontier. It fit the era. It attracted visitors from Los Angeles who drove the desert highway, looking for something they couldn't find at home. And then came 1946. The Flamingo opened in December 1946, and the man behind it was Bugsy Siegel, a name that carries weight because Siegel was, without significant historical dispute, a mobster, a violent one, a well-connected one. Siegel had vision, ambition, and access to organized crime money from across the country. What he built with that money was not a cowboy resort. It was something closer to Hollywood. The Flamingo had glamour, polished floors, name entertainment acts, a swimming pool, interior design that looked like a luxury hotel in Beverly Hills rather than a ranch in the desert. Siegel's explicit intention was to attract a wealthier, more sophisticated clientele, people who wanted to feel like they were somewhere special, not just somewhere novel. The Flamingo's opening was chaotic. Construction had run massively over budget. The building wasn't even finished when it opened. The initial response from the public was lukewarm, and Bugsy Siegel, whose organized crime partners were not known for patience with financial losses, was murdered in June 1947. He never saw the Flamingo become what it became, because under new management, the Flamingo stabilized. It found its audience. It proved that luxury worked on the Strip. It proved that the Western theme was not the only option, that you could build a fantasy of wealth and elegance in the Nevada desert and people would pay for it. The cowboy era of the Strip effectively ended with the Flamingo. Everything that came after, the themed mega resorts, the celebrity performers, the international luxury brands, descends directly from what Bugsy Siegel started and never lived to finish. Epilogue 1948, and what it meant by 1948. There were 4 major resorts operating on Highway 91. 4, that is not many. By modern standards, that is almost nothing. But consider where this road was. 18 years earlier, a dark highway outside a small railroad town with no streetlights and no particular reason to exist. The Strip in 1948 was not yet the Strip in any form you would recognize, but the logic was fully in place. The jurisdictional trick, stay outside the city limits, had been proven. The resort model, everything under one roof, had been proven. The luxury model, attract money with glamour, had been proven. What came next was simply repetition and escalation. More resorts, bigger resorts, more elaborate themes, more famous performers, more organized crime money, eventually legitimate corporate money, eventually the total transformation of the American entertainment industry. 40 million visitors a year. Remember that number? It traces back to a nightclub called the Red Rooster on a dark road in 1930. History does not always begin with a dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins with a man who didn't want to follow city ordinances and a road that nobody else wanted. Next time, the Flamingo's chaotic opening night, the organized crime networks that funded the early Strip, and the moment Las Vegas stopped being a destination for the desperate and started being one for everyone else.